All right, guys, we have the official CWE preview show for Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal here on the Jordan Garber Now podcast. And we are here with none other than the man himself, former CWE champion, none other than Hotshot Danny Duggan. How's it going, man?
It is going wonderful, Jordan. I'm never in a better mood than when I'm talking to the Garber Snake.
Well, you know, we have a great history with CWE, including the Snake Pit that we remember taping back in 2015 and 2016. So I always enjoyed doing that, and it's great to have that reunion. But let's get right down to business. You know, there's a great show lined up.
Business, Jordan. We don't have to jump right into business now. When we talk about a history, I have a history with you like I have with no other wrestling journalists out there, Jordan. Not only have we done the Snake Pit,
we've traveled the roads.
Traveled the roads up and down. We have been to the strip clubs of Wisconsin, Jordan.
We have. Absolutely, we have.
We have seen some sights. We've done some things.
No, absolutely. I think out of all,
this bond is tight.
No, it certainly is, and you know, without your mentorship, you know, it definitely wouldn't. I still wouldn't be podcasting. You know, you definitely been a huge component to that, but not just to me, but hundreds of the other CWE fans, and that includes new faces coming. And Bryce Bentley made a very impressive debut last show, and he's coming back for the second time here in the CWE. What are your thoughts on him as a veteran of the business, seeing this rookie play his game here?
Well, I'm really excited to see what the future holds for Bryce Bentley because I was the one that was brought into the Elite Wrestling Academy to kind of test his will, so to speak, to see if he was ready to get inside a professional wrestling ring and make his pro debut. He's been training for a good, year now with the Canadian Crusher, AJ Sanchez. They thought, I think he's ready for in-ring competition. So I went down to the Elite Wrestling Academy. I got in the ring. I barely met the man before. I didn't shake his hand. I put on my boots. I rolled in the ring, and I wrestled him for a good 20 minutes and tested him to see what he had. And he kept it coming. He kept up with Hotshot Danny Duggan, and not a lot of guys can do it, and he showed a lot of fire, a lot of heart, and a lot of ability. And I said, this guy's ready to go. He's obviously green and inexperienced because he hasn't, had his professional debut at that time yet. But I knew once he got it and he started getting some matches under his belt, this is going to be a kid to look out for. And he debuted at the Labor Day Weekend Wrestling Classic against Kevy Chevy. And you want to talk about a debut match? This isn't promoter hype here. This is the truth. I don't think I've ever seen as good of a debut match for a wrestler coming out of wrestling school ever before. You're usually coming out of wrestling school, you're nervous, you barely can, tie your boots. You don't know what to expect. You're getting in front of a live crowd for the first time that's screaming and yelling, and you're just worried about remembering the basics. And he went out there with Kevy Chevy, and much like I tested him in the training center to see what he had, Kevy Chevy did the exact same thing and pushed him to the limit and had a show-stealing performance in a match that nobody would have expected out of a wrestler, in his first match in the company and in the business. So he's got another match coming up on Friday with the mastermind Kevin Cannon. I don't think he's going to be tested the same way as he was with Kevy Chevy, who wanted to test his ability, where Kevin Cannon is probably going to test his ability to have eyes in the back of his head with the Cannon Corporation everywhere. But it'll be, once again, another good learning lesson because, unfortunately, there are snakes in the business. Not good snakes like the Garber snakes, but actual snakes in the business like Kevin Cannon, who will always have a trick up his sleeve, and in his case, sometimes 4 tricks up his sleeve in the Cannon Corporation, who I'm sure won't be too far from ringside, even though you think a 21-year veteran like Kevin Cannon shouldn't have to have backup to wrestle a guy in his second match, but we all know full well he most definitely will if he has the opportunity.
Now, another guy coming onto the scene here on Friday at Rookies, which is actually in a few hours, is none other than Mercury. This guy is very, very underestimated, and I'm sure you found out about that yourself, and that's why he's on the show. What do we expect out of him?
Well, he's coming strictly on reputation. I've never seen this performer compete before. And actually, it was a relief to people because when we announced Mercury was going to be on the show, people thought it was Zach Mercury, and they demanded refunds.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We had to assure people, no, we assure you Zach Mercury is not on the show. There will be good wrestling. You will not have to sit through that ever again on a CWE show. We still apologize for doing that to you a decade ago. But Mercury, the one that's going to be in action on Friday night, he comes to us from the west coast of Canada. He's from Vancouver. He's a 17, 18-year veteran, junior heavyweight star, trained by Pacific Northwest wrestling legends and the 2 top promoters out in that region, Michelle Starr of All Star Wrestling, and Scotty Mack of ECCW. So he's definitely got the pedigree and the respect of the statesman of that province. So he's coming here to Winnipeg, and he's going to compete against a wrestler coming to us from another promotion as well, the Preacher Gatlin Church, who's representing Northern Empire Wrestling from the Pod, Manitoba. And we're going to see what these two guys have, to see if they have, further abilities to compete with the elite on future CWE dates.
Absolutely. I feel that's why they call it Canadian Wrestling Elite, because all the elite from all across North America is being featured on the program. Now, we have none other than Fans Bring the Weapons here. This match is not for, I guess it's not a family match, it's safe to say. The Degenerates, a very unstoppable group as of late, against the Army of Dick. Now, this match is going to be brutal. I'm going to take the Degenerates on this one, because I feel like they have something going for them. And I know that they have a bright future in the business, and they showed that their first two matches in the company with other dominants. So I say the Degenerates. What's your choice?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think they have showers going for them. I don't know if you've ever been in the vicinity of them, but they smell pretty fucking terrible. And I don't know if they have much going on in their personal lives, but they are tough competitors when it comes to getting in the ring and fighting and being a professional fighter and a professional wrestler. You said Fans Bring the Weapons, and I don't want to overpass that. That's a big deal. That match is one of the most dangerous and scariest matches in all of professional wrestling. So much, in fact, it has not been done in Canadian Wrestling's Elite in over 8 years, because the last time it was done, it took everybody out and put them on the shelf for a very long time. Fans Bring the Weapons. That's right in the title. The people that are coming to the event have the ability to bring the weapons, the instruments of pain that will be used in the match by those competitors to use on each other. So bearing anything illegal, anything's on limits. So it could be something sharp. It could be something blunt. It could be anything, really. It could be something heavy. You can take an eye out with it. Whatever you have in mind that you think could disfigure one of those men and you want to put it in their hands to do so, you have the ability to do it. And you once again said it's not a family-friendly match. You will never see this on a all-ages show for Canadian Wrestling's Elite. This is a match you're only going to see at an 18-plus venue, adults only, and even then, we still have an advisory that is not for the weak of heart. If you are afraid of possible blood, if you're afraid of brutal violence and cringe-worthy pain that's going to make you shiver to see somebody do that to another human body, there's a reason this match is going on last. So you have the option to enjoy the entire show and go home and take comfort in your own bed, because this one is going to be dangerous, it's going to be violent, and it's going to be something that's probably going to scar you for a very long time.
No, absolutely. But, when you look at tag matches and you look at, something maybe extremely not violent but not extremely violent, we have Collins and Stardom, who just captured the CWE tag titles against former champions and angry former champions O'Doyle and AJ Sanchez. Now, I say with the game plan that O'Doyle and Sanchez have and the experience that Sanchez has provided, I think they're in the win column. However, Stardom and Collins are very, very big veterans of the Winnipeg game as well. So this one's a hard one, but if I had to choose, O'Doyle being the future and being actually one of the last guests on this show because of his abilities, I'm going to say O'Doyle and Sanchez in this one against Collins and Stardom. They're going to be the new champions, O'Doyle and Sanchez. What do you think, though?
Well, before I give my thoughts on that, not to backtrack too far here, but, I feel like a complete moron. This show is so stacked. It's so big. There's so many matches we talked about already. We haven't even gotten to some of the bigger attraction matches. We've forgotten to mention the entire concept of this entire event. It is the annual Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal. So the only match on the card we know the stipulation of is Fans Bring the Weapons. And even then, you, the fans, decide what goes on in that match by the weapons you bring. But you, the fans, will also help decide the stipulation for every other match on the card. Every single other match on the card will have a stipulation that those competitors will compete under, and that will be decided by those match stipulations being put on a big spinny wheel, and fans will randomly be selected before each match to come up and spin that wheel, make the deal, and whatever it lands on, that match must contest under those stipulations. So in the past, there's been barroom brawls, there's been Iron Man matches, best 2 out of 3 falls, submission match, lumberjack match, A match that I wrestled in the first year of Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal, a bra and panties match. Anything and everything is on that wheel, which completely throws out any game planning for any of the competitors on this card. They could be coming in thinking they're going to wrestle one way. They're going to come in and have a good, hard-fought wrestling match to find out it's no disqualification, and the next thing they know, they got a chair flying at them that they got to be ready for. This is a wild, unpredictable night of action. Every match is contested under Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal, including the tag team match you just mentioned. But there's also another stipulation that's added to that match. This is a whole show of gimmicks. This tag team match, AJ Sanchez and Kevin O'Doyle, two-time CWE tag team champions. This is their last shot at the CWE tag team titles. They've been trying to regain them for 18 months. So in order to get a shot at the CWE tag team titles one more time, one that they have not earned through the ranking system of Canadian Wrestling's Elite, they have made an ultimatum to the champions. And if AJ Sanchez and Kevin O'Doyle do not defeat Rob Stardom and Bobby Collins on Friday night in Winnipeg, who are also not only the current but two-time CWE tag team champions, they're nearing a year-long reign themselves. If AJ Sanchez and Kevin O'Doyle lose on Friday night, they can never team again.
Wow.
AJ Sanchez, Kevin O'Doyle are no more. They had to put that on the contract to get the match. So we're either going to see new champions in AJ Sanchez and Kevin O'Doyle, or we're never going to see them team up again, and we're going to go on to an historic, even more historic reign from Rob Stardom and Bobby Collins, who are going on nearly a year now as champions with no signs of slowing down.
And it just seems like yesterday when they won the belts. You know, Doyle and Sanchez have a very good reign, and like I said, I feel like they're hungrier than ever, and this is going to be it for them. So we're going to find out this Friday night. But another question is, what's been going on with Adam Knight pairing with Kevin Cannon, going against none other than Johnny Malibu? I say that there's a big numbers game. Malibu has to be very, very careful. That goes for yourself when we go into your match. But when it comes to Malibu, I'm going to say Malibu's going to pull off an upset, but he has to be very careful with what's around him. What do you think?
I don't like the odds for Johnny Malibu. And
you never know.
I say that for someone who respects Johnny Malibu and has, was one of the people campaigning for him to return to pro wrestling and make his return after 18 years to come back and give the new age wrestling fan a taste of Johnny Malibu that they may have missed, because he wrapped up his career so early in the 2000s. But this war he's been going at the Cannon Corporation with, he's been doing a great job. To his credit, in one-on-one situations and tag team situations, more times or not, Johnny Malibu has his hand raised. And for those that missed the Labor Day Weekend Wrestling Classic, he had his wits' end, because no matter how much he wins, no matter how much he defeats individual members of the Cannon Corporation, there's still 2, 3, 4 other guys in the wings waiting to beat the shit out of him and assault him and injure him. And now the newest member, Shaun Martens, has tried to break his neck with a pile driver on the HIW Grand Championship. So he's had a really rough ride, and he laid it on the line. He said he doesn't care what it takes. He wants Kevin Cannon. He wants Shaun Martens at the Extreme Consequences Super Show on November 6th. They gave him the match. Under the circumstance, they get to pick his tag team partner, who we still don't know who it's going to be yet. But before we even get there, he's got Adam Knight. Adam Knight has not been seen in CWE since last November. He has been completely non-existent in 2020. He had vanished. He was revealed as the newest hired gun of the Cannon Corporation to help Bobby Shink win the Hardcore Championship last November, and then he vanished. So we thought it was a one-and-done job. We thought maybe Adam Knight was taking a big payoff and riding out into the sunset. But what we've learned is Kevin Cannon's been paying him to sit on the shelf and waiting on reserve for when he needs the big guns. And he needs those big guns this Friday night against Johnny Malibu, because this is the last stop for Johnny Malibu before that tag match against Kevin Cannon and Shaun Martens. And you better believe they don't want Johnny Malibu going into that match 100%. And Adam Knight has been wrestling with CWE for 6 years now. I don't believe he's been pinned 6 times in 6 years, maybe 3. It hasn't happened much. He was undefeated for the first 2.5 years he was here. He's a former CWE champion. He's one of the most destructive forces in the history of this company. And he's just been sitting and waiting and training for nearly a year. And he's getting in the ring for the first time on Friday night with a target. He's been told, this is your job, take him out. So you better believe Adam Knight is going to be chomping at the bit to destroy Johnny Malibu on Friday night. And being someone who was on the initial rampage of Adam Knight when he first debuted in CWE, a man who probably took years off my career with the lariats and power bombs that the 4C delivers, I have a feeling if Johnny Malibu's not careful, this comeback he's had, this Cinderella story, could come to an end Friday night.
Fair enough. I'm gonna have to say that's my underdog prediction there for the Friday night event. But you never know. But yeah, he has to watch what's around him.
He's the pick in my heart. I would like nothing more for Johnny Malibu to defeat Adam Knight on Friday. I would like nothing more for Johnny Malibu to continue this Cinderella story he's been having. It's been very remarkable and inspiring. But as a professional of this business, 18 years myself, I look at the realities of it, and I look at it. When I got in the ring with Adam Knight, I was at the top of my game. A CWE champion, traveling the world, going to Japan, wrestling with WWE, Ring of Honor. And I couldn't even get through 3 minutes without Adam Knight taking my head off and putting me to the mat. He's a competitor you cannot prepare for. He's a completely different beast, and Johnny Malibu is going to find that out Friday night.
Now, when it comes to these two, we talk about Winnipeg wrestling and its tradition. None other than two to represent that. Cory Diamond against Easy Ryder. I'm going to say Easy Ryder on this one. I don't know, man. I just love the guy. And he still has big things coming for him, I feel, in the CWE if he keeps winning matches. What are your thoughts? I say Easy Ryder. What's your pick?
Yeah, that's my pick as well, because you want to, go from one inspiration story to a next. Easy Ryder is a name that if you're a Winnipeg wrestling fan, a Canadian wrestling fan, you have either seen Easy Ryder wrestle live over the last 30 years, or you've at least heard the name. You've read it in the magazines. You've seen it in the results. I remember being, a kid in the early 90s and seeing Easy Ryder's picture in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. He is a bona fide Canadian wrestling legend, a former NWA Canadian champion. And it's kind of ironic how things work out. When CWE started, it was a group of young talent that were hungry to do something different and spark change. And we did that, and we still continue to do it. But along the way, we've sparked a desire and a fire and a passion in some of the veterans in the territory that some people have written off, and they said, he's been doing this a long time. He's a little bit slower. He's maybe a little too old now. Maybe it's time he puts up the boots. And then you get a guy like Easy Ryder who people will comment on that behind his back, and then he gets in the ring and you go, wow, 30 years, 50 something years old. And you would never guess it, because he gets in the CWE locker room. He gets in a CWE ring, and he knows the level he has to perform at. And you would never guess that anyone ever doubted his abilities, because he gets in there and he shows why he was one of the top-ranked wrestlers in all of Canada for nearly 3 decades. And he's coming to CWE after, what was thought to be a career-ending surgery. A lot of people don't know this, but he had a very serious back injury. He's got multiple plates and screws in his spine. His doctors don't want him wrestling. He shouldn't be wrestling. He's probably one bad body slam away from never wrestling again, but he has that fire and passion that all of us do who live professional wrestling, and that has not died in Easy Ryder. And it's been so inspiring to see a guy who could have hung up his boots and said, you know what, I had a great career. I traveled the world. I was a main event attraction in my area for as many years as I wrestled here. But no, he's starting at the bottom, and he's working his way up, and he's proving himself all over again, and he's looking for that one last great run. And he's getting in there with no slouch. He's getting in there with the highly capable Cory Diamond, another veteran of 20 years of the Winnipeg Wrestling Wars, who came to CWE, who was another guy who was written off, who's just looking for an opportunity. He doesn't want to give up just yet. He says, I still got gas in the tank, and I want to show you. So you got two guys with very similar mindsets going in there on Friday night. So not only is it a cool little tribute to the history of Winnipeg wrestling and some of the top stars over the last couple decades, you're getting two guys that still have a point to prove and still have another decade in front of them if they want it.
Now we have Jordan Garber, now interviewee versus interviewee. This one is going to be, once again, you got to be careful there, Big Cliff Corleone. I know you're a big guy, but you got to watch out, because this match is for the HIW Grand Championship. But Shaun Martens, ever since he's joined the Cannon Corporation, he has been dominant. And he's going head-to-head, though, against a very tough opponent, none other than Big Cliff Corleone. I'm going to say here that Martens is going to retain his title just due to that numbers game. Cliff has to be very careful. What do you say for this one?
That's a tough call to make because you make a very good point. There is a numbers game, but that's something that Cliff Corleone is very familiar with when it comes to the Cannon Corporation, as he just finished last year having an extensive battle with Bobby Schink over the Hardcore Championship, which he not only lost because of the numbers game, but also lost the moniker of Big Cliff Corleone, one he had for 2 decades. He lost that to Big Bobby Schink, who's now the biggest man in all of CWE. So Cliff Corleone has battled the Cannon Corporation in different variations and forms over the last year. He knows what he's getting into. He hasn't forgotten what was done to him. He had his title taken from him. He had his identity taken from him. So he's had a lot of time to think. And, Shaun Martens wasn't in the Cannon Corporation at the time that Cliff Corleone was doing battle with him, but he still stands for what they represented then as they do now. And for that reason alone, he's going to have a target on his back. The second that bell rings, Cliff Corleone is going to be looking to eat his lunch. But you mentioned, Shaun Martens has been more dominant than ever, and he's had an incredible 2020. Maybe one of the best in CWE. He came to CWE, I believe, the beginning of 2019, maybe the end of 2018, and he was, kind of lost in the shuffle, trying to find his place, trying to mount some momentum, and he was showing signs of it, but he just couldn't. He needed something to latch onto. He needed something to sink his teeth into, and he did that when he captured the HIW Grand Championship. And since earning that championship and becoming the most regularly defended title in the company in this year, with most of our champions being stateside right now, it's lit a spark for Shaun Martens to prove that he is the best champion in Canadian wrestling's elite, and he has strung together a 2020 and a list of victories that is beyond impressive. So if he defeats Cliff Corleone, I would be surprised, but I will not be shocked. It will not be an upset because Shaun Martens has proven he can beat some of the very best in the business this year.
That should be a very good matchup again for Friday. And another good one lined up here is you're looking to get your revenge here, man. Like, you've been in a tight spot here for quite a while, and the only thing you want to do is get your hands on Roy Cheeks. Now, I'm going to predict that you're going to win this matchup, and I'm sure I know what your prediction is, man.
Yeah, well, the normal Hotshot Danny. Yes, if it's a wrestling match, Hotshot Danny Duggan is going to win. I guess it's going to boil down to just me battling my own emotion and my own temper that I've been dealing with in 2020, and on how that victory is going to end up. I've had to do a lot of reflection over the last year. I lost the CWE championship last year when one of my best friends turned his back on me. A few days later, I was in a fatal car accident where my life was almost ended. And I have not been the same competitor I was since that day. And I know that. And I know that competitor's still in there somewhere. I've just been having a very hard time finding him and stringing together that same drive and that same passion and the same motives I had before to be the very best. And at times, I don't know if it was the concussion causing the accident or just, maybe I don't have what I used to. Just all those thoughts in my head bottling up at once has led to me showing some pretty embarrassing behavior that I'm not proud of, that I've never displayed before in CWE, and I hope not to too much in the future, if ever again. But if I can keep my emotions in check and wrestle Roy Cheeks, regardless of the stipulation that's put in front of him, 100% Hotshot Danny Duggan defeats Roy Cheeks. There's no question of that. You'd have to be a complete moron to think otherwise. But it's going to be a matter of, I know the Cannon Corporation is going to try to get involved, and that's been kind of the trigger. The last year is, for 11 years, I've done it by the book and I've followed the rules, but it's those that don't that continue to get ahead and get the championships and get the big matches. And the second Kevin Cannon sticks his nose into that match, or any other member of the Cannon Corporation, I know that's going to be the true test for me to keep that temper, under the hood, so to speak, because if it blows up, it's not going to be just an ass kicking of Roy Cheeks. It's probably going to be an ass kicking of many people and whoever I can get my hands on. So I'm giving you my word right now. Jordan Garber is a friend of mine that I plan to be on my best behavior. I vowed to the fans I'm going to try to get my shit under control here. And that's exactly what you're going to see out of me on Friday night. And I've got a great opportunity, as there's no reason for anything else when I wrestle, someone as inexperienced as Roy Cheeks.
Sammy Peppers and Scott Ripley. Scott Ripley's been absolutely amazing coming off the podcast as well himself. And actually one of the most listened to of the month. He has been, not just that, he's been doing amazing in the ring, especially through the CWE ranks, and getting up some victories too as of late. But Sammy Peppers is very underestimated as well. So I'm going to say Ripley on this one. What do you say?
I say this is a great match to get an indication of what the future of Winnipeg wrestling is going to look like. You've got two guys that are 2 years into their careers. They've shown a lot of progress. They've shown a lot of promise, a lot of potential, and they've been very successful in those 2 years. And now they're going to go in the ring. They're both looking to find their footing and get into, contendership for one of the championships, move up the card, earn more respect in the locker room. So this is a great opportunity. It's one thing to get in the ring with a veteran and outwork him and beat him and, surprise some people to move up the ladder. But sometimes those breakout moments come from getting in the ring with somebody, on the same level as you, somebody who's the same place on the card, who has the same experience, who's around the same age, who's just as hungry, who wants just as big of a break as you do, who wants to make a name for themselves. And that's sometimes when the magic happens. You get two young guys who are just going to go out there and lay it on the line. No pressure or nerves from being in the ring with somebody more experienced or maybe more talented than them. They just have the opportunity to go in there and be the best version of themselves, get out of their own head and make it happen. And I think that's the opportunity that's at play here for Scott Ripley and Sammy Peppers. So if one of them is able to get the win over the other, I think that's going to be a strong indicator of what direction the future of CWE and Winnipeg wrestling is going. And either way, I don't think you can, lose on that battle. And it's interesting as well because Scott Ripley has been associated with the coach Kelly Russell for pretty much the majority of his CWE career. He's been very absent since Marty Gold broke his leg back in the spring. So Scott Ripley's been doing it on his own without a manager. He's been unsuccessful so far without a manager, where he was very successful with the coach in his corner. So it's going to be interesting to see going into this match on Friday if he's learning to do business on his own and find success without somebody dictating him to how to do things, or if he's going to have to fall back on the coach returning and healing up and directing him to get to that same success he had prior to that injury. So this match will be very, very telling on many levels on what's to come for both of these men's careers to close out 2020.
No doubt about that. That's for sure. Now, last but certainly not least, Mentallo was supposed to go head-to-head with Kevy Chevy, but with Kevy Chevy containing the coronavirus, it is the mystery opponent to be named. Now, I'm still going to say Mentallo because he's gone above and beyond, and he's one of the best in the history of CWE, bottom line. So I'm going to say Mentallo, but the question is, who's his opponent going to be? Like, I have no idea.
You just said it, man. He's the best, and a big part of my problems in the last year is
and
not
had
coming
some issues
to
as of late with him too.
Well, the breakout for myself in my singles career in this territory was defeating Mentallo after him going nearly undefeated for 3 years in CWE when this company began. It was me being the guy to finally knock the icon off the mountain and pin him for the first time. And beat him for this, and then a second time for the CWE championship later on. I was the guy that was the kryptonite that was able to defeat Mentallo, and we've had some encounters over the last year, and I have lost every single one of them, and that's been a very hard pill to swallow. That makes it look like you're backtracking in your career. That once upon a time you beat this guy and it skyrocketed you to the biggest heights of your career, and now he continuously beats you over and over, and you got to start asking yourself, do I not have what it takes anymore? Did he get that much better, or did I get worse? And that's been a big part of the mental block in my head, is not being able to come to that decision or face that reality that maybe he is just better, or maybe I have lost a step. But when you predict that Mentallo is going to beat anybody, that's a fair assessment, because he usually does. It's not common you see Mentallo lose a professional wrestling match. He's been with this company since day one, as we're going on nearly 12 years now. And it is not a common occurrence for Mentallo to lose in any shape, form, or fashion. So for whoever is going to put their name on that line, to wrestle him on Friday night, they better know what they're doing. It's either going to be somebody that's got a game plan, that thinks they're going to make a name for themselves at the expense of Mentallo, or there's going to be someone going in there with just a hope and a test of their abilities to see what they got. because that's the best way to find out, how much you really have in the tank is to get in there with the very best and go to war with them. So whoever gets in the ring with Mentallo, they'll have a true testament, and hopefully Chevy clears up his COVID-19 and can return to action soon. I know he's battling both COVID and chlamydia 19, but he's got meds for both. He should be back sooner than later, and we wish him a very speedy recovery.
Now, a big factor here, though, is every match is picked at random here, with the wheel being spinned. Well, at least 90% of them. So, do you think that's going to play a factor on each of these matches?
It plays a factor in every match. I think Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal has been around, give or take 5 years now. I've competed on every single one of those events. You think, that you look at the wheel and there's so much variety and there's so many different options on where that match can take you that you just can't prepare for it. You can't sit in the back in the locker room and mentally prepare, come up with a game plan. If he goes like this, I'm going to do this. If he shoots for this move, I'm going to shoot for that move, because it may be completely out of the question. There may be lumberjacks on the floor. There may be, it may be a barroom brawl, and there's going to be very little wrestling if that spills out into the bar and fists are being thrown, or a best 2 out of 3 falls. You could be planning to try to pin somebody once. Now you got to pin them twice. And if you get a wrestler the caliber of Mentallo, good luck pinning him once, never mind twice. So it definitely changes things, and that's the really cool, spontaneous part of the event. Is you have to be prepared for anything, because you don't find out until you're in the ring.
Now, another good thing about this venue is finally we covered everything, and it's going to be a great show. That was a lot to discuss, but we certainly went through it, and every match is going to be an exciting one. But tell the fans here, this venue, Rookie Sports Bar, has been a great part of the CWE for quite a long time. So when you come to the show, there's drinks available, there's food, and actually the cheapest drinks you can get in the city. So that's another reason to come out to the show. So tell the fans listening from Winnipeg and even from other parts of the world, that way when coronavirus is over, they can go to future events where people can check this out, and where they can get food at the show and merchandise and things along those lines.
Well, we always say you get to go visit Al Snow's identical twin at the main bar at Rookie Sports Bar. He's the one serving up those cheap drinks. He takes care of you all night long. They have Will's Tasty Foods, a restaurant right inside the facility, so you can order all kinds of food, come down and have dinner at the event, snack throughout it. And then, of course, to check out CWE, we're on, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at CWE Canada. We just opened up a Pro Wrestling Tees store at prowrestlingtees.com/CWE Canada, which has the official Hotshot Danny Duggan t-shirt, the Canadian Crusher AJ Sanchez t-shirt exclusive that just came out a couple days ago, the Canadian Strong Style Rob Stardom shirt, and the latest edition CWE shirt, all available on sale now. And, of course, you can check out any CWE event on our schedule and where you can get tickets at CWEtickets.com.
Right on. Well, we look forward to doing this preview with you each and every time, Hotshot, and we look forward to talking to you during the next one. You have yourself a good night, man.
Awesome. We'll see you Friday night.